All right, we're back on talking through our EJ. So here's our victim, here's our mannequin. And if you were to look, like really subtle, but my EJ would be flowing here. So the other thing is that there's so much extra room for this vessel to move around that we really have to anchor really well. So that's the other thing is you're actually going to anchor top and bottom. You're going to go ahead and move, you're going to pick a side, okay? And assuming there's no issue with one side or the other, you got two sides to pick from. Now this becomes a heck of a lot more complicated if it's a C-spine precaution and you need to keep them immobilized, because under ideal circumstances, we're actually going to have our person go ahead and pull over like that, okay? Whether you direct them to do that because they're conscious, or you're just maneuvering it over because they are unconscious. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take that really low flow, and you're going to take this situation right here, you're going to move it to here by occluding lower down on the anatomy. So we're going to occlude here. Remember, blood's flowing here. So if we occlude here and we press in, that's going to very slowly fill the vessel. It's not going to make it tight as a drum, never will, but you're at least going to go from super pancake flat to not so much. That's going to give me just enough room to slide the bevel in. Okay? So where I'm going to include down low. Now here's the problem. We're used to anchoring so that as we go in with an IV, everything doesn't move around. We don't have the rolling veins. So we anchor really well, and then you don't have the anchor. So our anchor, since we're moving tension this way, needs to be above. So we're actually going to anchor, we're going to go ahead and put our middle finger down and see how well, maybe give a little tap and then see if we can get that thing to rise up as much as possible. And then we're going to anchor way up right here by the angle of the jaw, and we're going to actually take our thumb and we're going to spread the skin, okay? And we're going to make it nice and tight, okay? Now you're actually going to make it tight to the point where it's going to take that nice plump EJ and it's actually going to flatten it down so that there's no target anymore. That's fine. We're only anchoring to get through the dermal layer. That's it. We're just trying to get through the skin. Our first goal, just get in the skin. Not get in the vein, get in the skin. So what we're going to do is we're going to occlude off. We're going to get that bad boy to come up as much as possible. We're going to do a spread and an anchor. We're going to take our, we'll obviously prep our site. This is serving in the place of our tourniquet. Obviously can't tourniquet the neck, but you can occlude just the lower aspect of that vessel. We're going to go ahead and pop off our needle, and then, got bevel up, and we're in VSI, and we're going to come in as high as possible. You're actually going to have to keep, you're going to slide this space right by the ear, right by the angle of the jaw, and I actually encourage you to come in, rather high. So you could come in here, and then you're going to make entry right about there. You can see that's the spot. So all I'm doing is staying super shallow. I'm coming in, and I just get under the skin. That's it. And now I've got my bevel, and I've got my Teflon, and I'm under the skin, and I can release a little bit, and that, if I release the tension, that should help my EJ to pop up back again, and now I've got a really good, I know where I'm on my landmark, and that enables me to adjust this way or this way, and now I'm ready to go ahead and advance into my EJ, and here's where it gets the most subtle and a little tricky. So you got your EJ, and even if it's collapsed, okay, so you had if you took this guy, then it would be like that, right? Okay, but we don't have that. What we have is we have low pressure, low flow. So that means that this guy is now this. And that means this vessel is here. And then your needle's coming in. Okay? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to stay shallow as much as possible. So we want to reduce this angle. We've got this big bevel to deal with. And what we're trying to do is we're just trying to get the bevel into the one side that's flat. We're trying to get it in a little bit, and then here's where it becomes a trick. we're then going to get our bevel in. We're going to flatten out as much as possible. We're going to insert our bevel, okay, into this layer here. And then we're actually going to pick up our, instead of continuing through, because this track is going to lead us straight through to the other side. Remember, this is nice and flat like this. We're actually going to get in, and then we're going to pick up on the skin. You're actually literally going to rise with your needle, and then continue to advance a little bit, and then slide your Cathlon down the needle. So that picking up on it, that rising just a little bit, is going to give you the room so that you don't have everything pressed against other anatomy underneath the muscle and the fascia. You're going to actually raise up a little bit. Skin moves a little bit. It's loose here. So you're going to pull on that. And that's what's going to enable you to slide the Cathlon straight down. You keep your hand occluded even after you disconnect from your hub, because it's so low pressure that you won't necessarily get the blood return back out the needle, and you could actually introduce an air embolus. That's how low of a pressure we're talking here, like truly next to nothing. So we keep it there, we hook our line in. I usually just hook my line in, I hold it there, I have my partner hook in a saline flush, and then I take the saline flush and I feel right around the site as I just give a couple mils, and if that thing, if you can sink 10 mils in and you feel nothing other than feeling the fluid flow, then you're most likely in. The only other part to consider about this is that there's so much tissue here, and it's so loose that you could flow a full 10 mils in here and it be interstitial space. It could be infiltrated. So I usually flow like under pressure. Once I get the first one eased in, I'll usually pull back on my line, glute the one end on my line, pull another 10, and then push it in hard. And if I can push it in hard and see nothing, no expansion whatsoever, then I am 99% sure that I am in the vascular space. And then I go ahead and anchor. And I actually anchor by taping off and then running the IV line around the patient's ear, catching it completely over the earlobe, tight back down, and then taping off real broad on the entire thing. And that kind of gives me a hook piece in case the line gets snagged. So that's your EJ. That last part that I was talking to you about, some medics who've tried it, they may even understand that it's not a high pressure line, it's a low pressure line, so you got to be super careful about doing the bevel. They might not necessarily know that they're not going to feel the pop. So they keep advancing, hoping to feel pop, and they're advancing. Next thing you know, they know they're going too deep. They're just deep. So you went through it. Or they know they're not going to feel a pop, but they're waiting for the flash. And there's no flash. Or they know they're not necessarily going to get a pop, not going to get a flash, but that last step, here's where Dennis gave me the golden advice, to pick up on the skin tissue and slide that guy in. This is one of the few things where it's very mental. You have to know that you have confidence in what you're doing, and you have to visualize it mentally, that you are in fact going to go in that vessel. I don't know what it is about that, but it definitely increased my success rate dramatically when I just said, okay, I'm going to feel my way as if I am the bevel. I'm going in and giving myself the space I need, and then advancing in and just having the confidence that I'm in. And that in itself increased my success rate dramatically. So that's all I got to tell you guys for today about the EJ. It's one of my favorite things, probably one of my favorite things only because of point of pride and so many people that can't do it. And so very quickly not only became a strong skill set for me, but it became one of my favorite skill sets. Every priority patient I ever had, I was immediately just eyes looking at their neck, seeing if I could do an EJ, that kind of a thing. Assuming everything else was taken care of, be like, okay, yeah, you go for the IO. Whoever gets the line first wins. So that kind of a stuff. Not so much as much anymore with the humeral head introduction, but yeah, fun times all around. So if you have any questions, drop me a note on the webpage, and I'll try my best to answer them. As always, follow your clinical practice and your protocols. And until I see you guys again, love, protect, and help. Have a good one.